at the individual level, we must realize that human beings are multidimensional. We must not allow our government to impose on us a single-dimensional identity. What do I mean by this? Today, you are either a Bumiputra or you are a non-Bumiputra. You are either pro-government, whether Pakatan or Barisan, or you are anti-government. But what about the other aspect of a human individual? For example, Fadia, Anil, and I, we may be from different ethnic groups, but perhaps we will cheer for Lee Chong Wei and, or Nico David. Fuad and I may be from a different political party. We may disagree at one level, at one dimension, but both of us may love to eat durians. So human beings are multi-dimensional, and I think we must allow for this multi-dimensional identity to emerge. Secondly, next slide. We must be bold enough to promote a greater democratization of culture. What do I mean? In Malaysia, for example, we see that the whole country is now taken hostage by West Coast Malaysians. For example, Malays in the West Coast sought to impose our category of Malayness to everyone in the whole of Malaysia, even Sabah and Sarawak. But are the Malays in Perlis and Selangor similar to Malays in Penang and Kelantan and Terengganu? Is it? There is an attempt, I believe, to reduce the rich multicultural identity of the Nusantara society into one single category, Malay. But do we now hear today about Acehnese or Balinese, Batak, Sudanese, Bugis, Dayak, Minang? These are the rich Malay subgroups or the Nusantara subgroups, which has submerged into this one broad category, Malay. So I'm saying that today we should encourage the emergence, the re-emergence, celebrating this diversity, this richness of our historical culture. If you go to Indonesia, you will soon discover that despite their proximity, the Batak in North Sumatra is quite different from the Acehnese in Aceh. And definitely very different from Javanese and those in Jakarta. We must celebrate these rich, colorful threads, which will eventually weave into a very beautiful fabric of the society. Thirdly, we must encourage and allow for the creation of different polarities in the society. What do I mean? In other words, we must encourage diversity, to encourage differences of cultures and subcultures and opinion to emerge. We should celebrate diversity. This, at least, will remove the tensions of bipolar competition between Bumiputra and non-Bumiputra. When we realize that we have more differences within our own self than between us, then we realize that the tension of competition is removed. When we realize that the competition is actually not Bumi and non-Bumi, but there are so many other polars or many other facets of our identity which we can work together with or which we can compete in, then it removes the tension away from this very singular bipolar society that we are in today. There's a very interesting paper which my colleague, Dr. Wong Chin Wan, he's not here, a fellow of Penang Institute, has pointed out to me when I was sharing with him this point. This is called the Federalist Paper number 10. These are some of the documents written by the founding fathers of America trying to argue for federalism. So this paper number 10 said that, I think it was Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken, it said that the founding of America, the Republic of America, we should encourage the formation of a large republic, of a large country with diverse demography. Why? To prevent, I paraphrase it, to prevent the easy ganging up of certain groups to bully another group. If you have different polarities, if you have different subgroups, it is more difficult for a leader, an authoritarian leader, to group everyone together to bully the minority or to bully another group. So, encouraging diversity is actually, to me at least, is a very strategic political move to prevent ganging up. And finally, politics. We must offer politics. I want to avoid using the old term emancipatory politics. Even I am still trying to find out what does it mean. So I'm using this very lame term, good politics. This is what I use in my book. In the book I said that the answer to all bad politics around us is not no politics, but rather good politics. Why do I say the answer lies in politics? Allow me to quote from this feminist philosopher, Wendy Brown. The retreat from a more substantive vision of justice is part of a more general depoliticization of citizenship and power and retreat from political life itself. This is ultimately a rejection of politics as a domain in which conflict can be productively articulated and addressed, a domain in which citizens can be transformed by their participation. In other words, we no longer see politics as an arena to solve the problems of the society, and we remove politics altogether from the people. So much so that we allow the experts, the politicians, to do all the political stuff for us. And when that happens, we're in trouble, because we are allowing them to do what they think is right. And often we substitute political action for toleration, for tolerance. Let me give you an example. In today's Malaysia, the problem of economic and political inequality becomes the problem of race and culture. One is rich or poor or powerful because of one's race, not because of economic injustice. And the solution we are given to this problem of race is that we should tolerate one another. We should ultimately be united. We should be sensitive, jaga sensitivity, kaum lain. The classic example again is national slogan asking everyone to be one people, one nation, one country, one Malaysia, etc. The problem of inequality becomes, the political problem of inequality becomes the cultural problem of intolerance. Instead of solving problems through political actions, through making better economic policy, for example, through institutionalizing justice, we solve problems by asking ourselves or the people to be more tolerant of one another. I started by saying diversity is a good thing, and some of you may be thinking that I'm advocating a chaotic society, but I do not think that there is no way for us to be united. I'm just saying that simple unity is something that dictators and authoritarian society prefer, but we can have commonness. I think at this point we are underestimating the universality or the commonness that can be offered by good politics. Allow me to end my discussion with two illustrations. The first one, I'm quoting from one of my favorite philosophers, Slavoj Zizek. When he was commenting on the Tariel Revolution, he said, "Here we have a direct proof that freedom is universal, and proof against the cynical idea that somehow Muslim crowds prefer some kind of religious fundamentalist dictatorship. The moment we fight tyranny, we are in solidarity, no clash of civilization. We all know what we mean. There is no miscommunication here." End of quote. At Tahrir Square, when the people were faced with a tyrant, they became aware that only by working together they can deal with the crisis. It is well documented that Christians and Muslims and people of Egypt were united. They joined hands in solidarity because all that mattered at that moment was the goal of the revolution, no longer the differences of one another. Even those of us who were watching the crisis or the demonstration from afar from television, we soon realized that we too are in solidarity with the protesters at Tahrir Square, that as they demanded freedom and justice against tyranny, we too felt the solidarity with them. That, I say, at that point, we become part of the human family. The second example is closer to home, and I'm glad Anil has shown pictures of Bersih and Penang Hijau. I've always liked to say that one of my first dates with my now wife, then girlfriend, Joey, who's here today, was to the November 2007 Bersih gathering. Yeah? At that time, critics claimed that Bersih was actually a Malay agenda. Only the Malays were interested, only the Malays were present. Yeah, we were there. But, and I acknowledge that the overwhelming majority of those who were there at Bersih 1 was from Malay community. But then we saw Bersih 2, Bersih 3 in Penang Hijau, and began to realize that the demonstration crowd began to reflect the demography of our country. You see Malay, Chinese, Indian. And for those who are in Sabah and Sarawak who couldn't attend Bersih gathering, what did they do? They organized their own local Bersih gathering. There is no miscommunication here. All of us understood There was solidarity among Malaysians, whereas all races demanded for free and fair election. You see, we can be united along the lines of good politics. Nothing again, politics which deal with freeing. As I said, good politics is a term, it's a lame term I'm using to replace this old term, emancipatory politics. But basically it means politics which deals with freeing humanity from oppression. And I love to say that this is actually the politics of intolerance, not tolerance. Because we are dealing with the universal intolerance of injustice, universal intolerance of human oppression. There is no miscommunication. We are united in our intolerance, not tolerance. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to Saudara Stevenson for offering us a more philosophical and religious approach to the issue of unity and diversity, reminding us to really think about the concepts that we bring into the discussion and what they mean. Right? So tolerance, emancipation, oppression, all these terms are very loaded, and thus we should be careful of what exactly we intend in our use of those terms, lest it be misconstrued or abused. Our discussion continues with reflections from Saudari Fadia Fikri, who will share with us her thoughts on the subject matter. Please welcome her to the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I would like to thank the organizers, IRF, Project Dialogue, and Liberty for organizing this forum in Penang. Because I always love Penang, because sometimes when you eat the food here, you can really celebrate diversity. You can see different culture, and it's very, very, very interesting, I would say. So it's the best place to talk about this issue, really. And when I was given this topic, the challenges of unity and diversity, I feel like maybe it's good for me to share my experience as a lawyer, a human rights activist, and someone who's always, fighting the police and trying to get the rights for the people who are detained for participating in assembly, because that's what I do since I started practicing back in 2007. And it's very interesting to see the topic given today. And I still remember 2 years ago, I was invited, a friend of mine, he was working for RTM1, the national TV. He called me, he was a uni friend. He called me and said, Fadia, can you speak? Tonight, it's live show. You want to talk about constitution and the position of Malay in Malaysia. And I was like, really? You want me to speak? Because I don't practice censorship when it comes to speaking up about rights, that. And he's like, yeah, just come. So I came. I went to the program, and there was a human rights lawyer, Harun and Edwin Bond, and I was there. So they were talking about constitution and all these Malay privileges under Article 153 of the Constitution, how the Malays are protected and so on and so forth. And the moderator actually asked me, do you believe that we still have to have this provision in the Constitution? And I said that I think we have to start talking about rights. When you want to talk about policy, you have to talk about policy that is based on human rights. I think we have to stop talking about race, because when you talk about human rights, it will cover everyone, it will protect everyone, because that's what I believe in. I don't want to talk about Malay, I don't want to talk about Indian, I don't want to talk about Chinese when it comes to rights, because everyone is equal and it's protected under Article 8 of the Constitution. But Article 8 has its reservations, saying that Article 5.3, which provides many privileges, we cannot question that. So everyone was like shocked, and somebody called, because it was a live show, somebody called and started attacking me, like, how dare you say something like that? You are a Malay, you become a lawyer because of us, because of Malay privileges, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I was still talking to him, we're talking about rights. Are you saying that we shouldn't protect an Indian, an Indian person, an Indian man who is poor? Is that what you're saying? But they can't answer that. They keep on being emotional about it, and they keep attacking me. So I just continued the thing, and the next day, I think they searched my name on the internet, so they found my Facebook. I have a lot of messages on my Facebook, all from Malays. How dare you say something like this? You are an ungrateful Malay, ungrateful Malay, tidak bersyukur, tidak bersyukur. They love to say this. Even the government of the day likes to say that, oh, you are ungrateful, you know, if you're against us, you are ungrateful to us. And I don't understand all these things, you know, why are you saying that we are ungrateful? You know, we live in a democracy. And there's no question about us being ungrateful. We can question you because we pay tax. And everyone's right is protected under the Constitution, and that's how it should be. And all these draconian laws that, you know, punish people for speaking out should be abolished. I mean, that's our take, you know, as a human rights defender. So when we talk about ISA, we talk about Sedition Act, they keep saying that, you know, how dare you question us, you know, as a Malay, how dare you questioning the Malay privileges guaranteed under the Constitution. Then, I think the second experience that I cannot forget until now is, if you remember 2 years ago, this group of migrant workers working in a construction site to build the palace, which cost 1 billion. If you go to the Jalan Duta courthouses, you will see this massive, gigantic palace. I don't know what's that for. Every time I pass through that building, I would feel like, oh my God, that 1 billion can help a lot of poor people, that 1 billion can build hospitals, that 1 billion can build schools for the needy. But what are we spending it for? For who? You know? And then we found out about these migrant workers are not paid their salary for months. They were starving, they have babies, they drink contaminated water, and nobody knew about that. But luckily, one journalist from the start, 2 years ago, I hope they don't retract the story, she actually went into the site and actually did an investigation, and somebody reported to us. And we actually met one of the migrant workers, and we started taking all the statements from them, and we lodged a police report on their behalf as lawyers, because we don't want to expose them. You don't want the SPRF to call them, and you know what happens during interrogation and so on and so forth. And they are migrant workers, they are the most marginalized, the most abused groups of people in this country. So I lodged this report, you know, as a lawyer on behalf of my client who has been deprived of wages and decent living while working in the construction site. And the next day, our Senator Liza Muhammad said in a statement, this lawyer is an ungrateful Malay, is a traitor. They like to use this language as a traitor, ungrateful Malay, tak sedar diri, orang Islam Melayu, tak sedar diri. They love to use this language to demonize what you do. And I say that you can call me a traitor. You know, I will not back out. I will stand for these people because they are human beings. Why are you treating them this way? It's wrong under the law. You know, those traitors should be brought to justice. And we are standing on their behalf because they can't be there. You know, they're voiceless, and we are trying to defend them. And this is what we get from you, trying to paint this picture that I'm a traitor and I have done the most atrocious thing to my Malay, you know, friends and families. I feel like why I'm using this language is just wrong, because when I talk about human rights, it's inalienable, indivisible, it's inherent. Everyone is entitled to that right. So I think we have to stop talking about race. We have to stop talking about this race is superior than that race. We have to stop talking about Malays, and so on. So because if you look at apartheid, if you look at the problems in the whole world, what's happening is because people love to feel superior over other people. So that is causing a lot of problems. That is causing armed conflicts. If you look at Syria, what's happening now, if you look at the displaced people around the world, what's happening actually? There's just one answer to that. If sometimes I sit down and reflect myself, and it's because people love to divide themselves, and they let people on top to divide them, and so that they feel superior over other people. You know, that's the insecurity that we are feeling now. I think the Malays, being a Malay, that's the insecurity that has been, taught to us since school. That you have to be aware of the Chinese. They will take over. They will sell this country to Singapore. Really? When I attended birthday gathering, I saw my friends and oh my God, I don't see race anymore. It's like these people are saving this country. Why are you saying this? No, it's not true. They braved the police. They got shot by tear gas after the birthday gathering. We were there in front of the detention center waiting from 8 p.m. until 5 in the morning, waiting for our friends to come out, from the detention center. They were all bleeding, and they are all there, regardless of race, because they believe in one cause. So at the end of the day, even though that we know that people are trying to divide us, I mean the rulers, the government, they love to divide us because it works. Everywhere in the world it works to divide people. So we cannot fall for that. We have to stand up and see everyone as equals. And we have to stand up and see that we are all the same. When we talk about human rights, it applies to everyone. There's no exception, there's no discrimination. So I don't mind being labeled a traitor. I don't mind being labeled ungrateful if what I'm standing for is for the right thing. So now I think I'm working a lot also with student activists. If you see how suddenly you can see all this demonstration organized by students. They're talking about all these rights in the Constitution, academic freedom, and so on and so forth. I don't see that they're buying that idea of, we have to talk about Malay unity, we have to talk about Muslim unity. They're like, no, we want to talk about everyone, We are talking about all Malaysians in this country. We want to be inclusive. So they too are being accused of being ungrateful, because I have a friend, she was a magistrate. She just further studied in the UK. She attended the BTN, with this indoctrination program. I hate that program so much, really, because it's so racist. And she told us that the speaker actually told everyone that, beware of the three students, Adam Akli, Safwan Anam, and Haziq Abdul Aziz. They are all, I'm working closely with them when it comes to accompanying them to the police station. They always get questioning by the police for being involved in their activism, because these people are, a threat to national security. That's the language they use. A threat to national security. And if you go and check their accounts, they have a lot of money. Somebody is funding them. I'm not surprised that they're going to say that Soros is funding the students too. Yeah? So that kind of language is being used to really brainwash and indoctrinate civil servants in BTN. It's very racist. It's trying they're saying that these people are tools, for the Chinese. They're not there to protect the Malays. They are now the ungrateful Malays trying to go against the Malays, and so on and so forth. So the same language is being used on and on and on and on to demonize and divide us. But I think these days, if you look at the Twitter, the social media, Facebook, a lot of people don't buy into this anymore. And a lot of people are more brave to question, for example, even the monarchy. They're like, why can't we question? We live in a democratic society. Najib is like going everywhere saying that, we are one of the best democracies in the world, so we have to live up to that. So they're using that argument. They're understanding the concept of democracy, how we can criticize anyone without being punished, how all these laws are being passed, these new laws to actually stifle dissent. So I think it's changing, and I can see that because I'm part of that group who can see what's happening and what's changing in this country. And we all have witnessed, for example, the person gathering that Anil mentioned about. First per se, you can see Muslim Malays. The second one, you can see the diversity is there. The third per se, we speak one language because we believe in one thing. So I think even though we are different, but that should be something that actually prevents us from going ahead to achieve what we believe in. We want freedom for this country. We want democracy to really work in this country. And we want human rights to be upheld by the government. So I think we have to stop talking about race and race and race and race. Who's more superior, who should be the PM, what race and all that. Because it's irrelevant, I'm so tired of talking about that because there are bigger problems. And okay, first, last night I was talking to my friend while we were having dinner. We talked about diversity, even amongst Malays and the Indians, the Chinese, the indigenous peoples in this country. And also, we cannot forget about the groups that exist with us that are not Malaysians. For example, Anil mentioned about perhaps, I mean, probably we have 4 million migrant workers and refugees, asylum seekers living with us. You know, sometimes we cannot ignore that fact. If you go to a restaurant, you know that they are migrant workers. They live with us, they serve us, they take care of our kids, they clean the places for us, and they do a lot of things. But sometimes we just close our eyes and just forget that these people too are having problems. They are the most marginalized, most abused, and no one is standing up for them. You know, the government always uses this national security when they want to deal with the migrant workers and refugees in this country. You know, they always say that these people are the ones who contribute to the crime rate in Malaysia. These people are the ones, you know, who are stealing the job opportunities in this country. But it's not true. It's not true at all, because we need them. We can't live without them. So I think we have to start talking about looking at other people as our equals. You know, if we want to be a good country, if we want to be a democratic country, we have to start looking at how we treat other people who are different from us. Of course, they are different. We are different. Even we Malaysians, we are different from one another. But you know, the differences shouldn't be something that stop us from being fair, from being just to these people. They live with us. They contribute to this country. And when we talk about refugee recently, you know, everyone was talking about the plight of the Rohingya. Suddenly, Dr. Mahathir is like, oh no, I'm championing this cause of saving the Rohingya. And Muslims, no, this is our problem. We have to solve this. I am not comfortable with that kind of language. You know, Muslims, we have to stand up for Muslims. It's not that. Muslims should stand up for everyone. You know, I'm a Muslim, and I don't like people to say that, oh, Muslims, we should stand up for the Palestinians. No, we should call everyone to stand up for a cause of justice, right? We should call for everyone to stand up for human rights. And this new allegation against us, you know, the Malays, Muslims who believe in human rights, oh, they are now worshipping a new religion. It's called human rights religion. I think they're very creative in coming up with all this kind of thing. They are saying that we are not worshipping God anymore. We're not worshipping Allah. We are worshipping human rights. We forget that Islam talks about human rights, because in Islam there's no such thing as, you know, classes. You know, everyone is equal before God's eye. Stephen mentioned about the Bible just now, so maybe I can just mention about what motivates me to look at the problem in a bigger picture. Is the fact that if you look at the last sermon of the Prophet, he actually addressed the humankind by using the term, "O mankind." He doesn't say that, "O Muslims." You know, he doesn't exclude, because that shows that the religion is asking you as a Muslim should fight for justice for everyone, not just for Muslims. We shouldn't be exclusive. We shouldn't be excluding people when we talk about something. That's why I'm not comfortable when people say that, oh, the Rohingya problem now, we Muslims must stand for our fellow Muslims. No, we should stand for everyone. It's not just Rohingyas in this country. We have a lot of other ethnic groups from Myanmar, from Burma in this country that needs protection. You know, yes, I stand up for Rohingya, I stand up for Kachin, I stand up for Karen, everyone in this country. You know, we have to stop talking about group and group and group. We should stand for this group, we should stand for that group, we should stand for everyone. You know, that's what religion is all about. You know, it's not about excluding people when you want to talk about something. It's about putting people together, because at the end of the day, we coexist. We live together in this country, we live together in this world, and what's happening in the world will affect us. When we talk about global warming and so on and so forth, it affects us. You can feel it. The weather is, something is not right with the weather. You know, it's the effect from global warming. You look at all these big countries, the superpowers, how they are reluctant, you know, in giving their commitment to actually reduce the problem. So I think it affects us in a lot of ways. To be a good country, to be a country that, you know, can proudly say that we are a democratic country, we have to start talking in the universal language of human rights. Because by doing that, we are able to achieve something that will cover everyone, will protect everyone. And I agree with Stephen, right? Stephen just now. When Stephen says that the politics, you know, it's very important, because the policies that are drafted by the policymakers must ensure that everyone is protected, so that at the end of the day, we Because that's the goal of politics, that's the goal of talking about philosophy, that's the goal of talking about human rights. At the end of the day, we want everyone to be protected by law and no one is excluded. And yeah, I think that's all that I want to share with everyone. And I think it's very, very important for us to start speaking that language so that we can see that we can be united for a good cause, for the right cause, for a just cause. Thank you.